Hi there, I'm Emma Kemp, design team member for Jamierodgerscrafts, and in today's video we're going to be looking at this fun spinning flower garden card. So to begin, I'm coming in with some Polar White Elite cardstock sized at 6.5 by 7.5 inches. I'm giving this a mist on both sides just to ensure it doesn't warp. I'm then giving the card a wash of water with a flat brush, and I'm bringing in my Enchanted Sprinkles. I have these stored in palettes to use them as watercolours, and I've got a separate swatching video coming soon in which I show this process. So the sprinkles dry in the palette between uses, and you just have to reactivate them with a drop of water, and literally a small amount of powder can go a very long way. As you'll see here, you only need a really small amount of colour on your brush, and when applying this over a wet background in particular, the colour can go quite far. So here you'll see I've just picked up a small amount of spring green, and then next I'm coming in and misting the top of my card again. You can see this leaves some white dots on my green area, and this is because you can lift colour off just using water, which is another fun technique. When using these as watercolours, each powder will give you just one colour because you are mixing the powders in with the water, unlike when you sprinkle them where you may get multiple colours. So here I reactivated some more colours before coming in with Cherry Pop, followed by Christmas Red, Golden Yellow, Spring Green, Tidal Teal, Stormy Skies, and finally Decadent Purple. And remember, you are in control of how bold these colours appear. You only need a few taps of powder and a drop of water in the palette to make quite a concentrated bold colour. But for subtle colour, wetting the card first will help, or you can mix a bit of colour with water on your mat to get the desired strength. So next I'm coming in with our new crushed velvet paper in bright white. It has the most beautiful texture. I'm going to stamp on this, and these papers take stamping really well. I'm using our new wood grain background stamp, an elephant grey quick drying pigment ink. We're going to cut our 8 fence panels and 2 slim backing panels from this, so you'd need a piece that is at least 20 by 20 centimetres in size. From the 4 curved fence panels, we need to cut the second largest one 8 times from both the velvet paper and from white card. Then from the squared edge fence panels, we need to cut the third size down twice from velvet paper and card to form the back panels. Coming in with Jamie's clear drying glue, I'm adhering each of the wood grain pieces to each of the white card panels, and then doing the same with the 2 back panels. I find the best way to do this is to apply the glue to the cardstock and spread it thinly, as the velvet paper is somewhat translucent and I wouldn't want to create air bubbles. Next, I'm cutting my flowers from white cards, starting with the Zinnia Blooms die set, which consists of the bloom and its separate petals, and I only need the 3 sizes shown. Then the Daisy Blooms die set, and finally the Hellebore Blooms die set. And here they are. I've cut everything once except for the Hellebore bloom stems, which I've cut twice. I'm then going to go ahead and remove the flower heads from each of the stems, as I'm going to be building my own layered flower heads using the separate petals. So I'm just sticking my 2 Hellebore stems together because they have quite intricate pieces, and I just want to strengthen these before adding the watercolour. Then I'm coming in and I'm just adding some water first to each of my stems, picking up the tiniest amount of paint in spring green. By controlling how wet my brush is, I can control how dark the colour is. So a wetter brush will dilute the colour more and give me a lighter tone of green, while picking the colour up with a slightly damp, drier brush allows for a more concentrated, deeper colour. So I manage different gradients and shades using purely one colour of the sprinkles, and I'm focusing on adding the darker shades to the lower part of the leaves where they'll be most in shadow, and the lighter shades on the upper part of the leaves where they'll catch the sunlight. Of course, you can also mix these and create your own desired colours. So just in the 12 shades of sprinkles, you just have so many options. So now I'm just coming in with the golden yellow for the centres of the daisies, and then I'm coming in with Cherry Pop to cover the petals, as I want these to be Gerbera daisies. For the zinnia petals, I come in with Tidal Teal, and you have options whether to colour your petals completely, or you can leave a border around the edges for extra interest. For the Hellebore petals, I do something a little different. So I come in with a drier brush for more concentrated colour at the base of each petal, flicking this out in small strokes, and then I come in with water and pull the colour to the edge of each petal before then coming back in with darker colour at the base and that creates a kind of gradient that makes them look more realistic, I think. Being that Enchanted Sprinkles are water reactive, you can also create highlights and lighter areas by dabbing with a paper towel while the paint is still wet to lift some colour. So I just do that with the rest of the petals, and then I go back over them, adding darker colour just over the debossed areas. I then come in and punch the holes for the brads into the centre of each of the blooms, and I really just eyeball this to try to get it centred. I do not do this with the hellebores as their centres are too small, so they won't be spinning like the other two flowers will be. I then glue all the layers of the petals together, ensuring they line up with the centre holes, as we want to make sure we can fit our brads through them. For the hellebores, I'm just going to shape the petals. You don't need a special tool to do this, a pencil will do. And then I'm just gluing them together, and you can use anything such as a pencil or a pokey tool just to press down in the middle there to make sure that the centres are stuck. And as you'll see in a moment, these dies really do make really pretty little flowers. Off screen, I've then cut and coloured some grass from the Daisy Blooms die set. Now coming in with my rainbow background, I'm just taking one of the fence panels and I'm testing it on my page to see how much I need to trim off. I pencil a line and then I line these panels up with all of the other panels, and then using a T-ruler, I draw a cut line all the way across. This way I don't have to measure every single panel individually. I then trim them all, and then the final step before building everything is to use the new plant pots die and cut them from dusky pink crushed velvet paper and the Hope Your Days magical die from white and black card. I've not used my rubber mat in my die cutting machine, so I have lost some detail, but I still think they look lovely. I'm now going to use my grid mat to plot the placement of my two horizontal back panels, which I temporarily adhere to my mat. My rainbow card is 7.5 inches wide, so I've placed my bone folder tool to the right there at 7.5 inches to allow me to easily plot the spacing of my 8 fence panels. But first I glue the fence panel furthest to the left and right so that this secures my back panels in place. I then double check that my plant pots fit before plotting the spacing of my remaining 6 fence panels. Once this is done, they just need to be stuck down. However, don't glue the second one in from the left or right, as we need to attach our spinning flowers to these first. So as you can see, I'm affixing the plant pots to the bottom of each of these 2 panels. Don't do as I've done here and glue directly down the centre, as this will block you from inserting your plant stems into the cut line. I had to undo mine off screen and reapply them before gluing my stems and inserting them again. I line up my bloom, marking the centre point in the hole, and I use this mark to punch the corresponding hole in the fence panel. And then I take my brad and pop this through the bloom and the fence panel. When you open the brad arms out at the back, try to bend them part way up rather than too close to the cardstock. You want to try to keep this quite loose so that there is some room for movement, and this will make it easier for your flowers to spin compared to if you just open the arms flat and tight against the cardstock. I then do this to the other panel as well, and then I attach both to my completed fence. I then add glue to attach my centre planter, and before sticking I also glue my hellebore stems so that I can slot them through the cut line before the glue dries, not making the same mistake again. I'm then just coming in with my grass pieces as extra foliage to the hellebore planter. Remember, my hellebores are not going to be spinning, so I just adhere the hellebore bloom and then add a dab of glue in the centre to pop in a little gold bead. I'm then gluing my black sentiment and dabbing some of the glue off on scrap paper and adhering this to the white sentiment, offsetting them slightly to create that white shadow behind the black, and adhering the sentiment to my fence panel. And just adding glue now to the back of that completed panel, sticking that to the rainbow background. And this looks lovely by itself, but we are going to take it further with some extra mats and layers just to make the rainbow colours pop a bit more. So just popping that over black and white. And here is the finished card, and I just think this turned out so pretty with the rainbow colours, and the spinning flowers really add interest and fun. So thank you for watching this tutorial. I hope you found it helpful, and if you did, please do give the video a like, because that lets us know to keep on bringing you similar content, as well as following Jamierodgerscrafts to keep up with all upcoming content, releases and inspiration from our amazing design team. Have a great day. Bye bye.